Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Alright, so we're gonna give this YouTube thing a shot. Alright, um, this is gonna be a new series I'm starting. This channel is gonna be used for mostly deck showcases that I'll be creating. At some point, I will be having people send in their decks, and I'll test those out, put them on showcase, all that. But so far, this is the deck I've created. I named it Lexrine. It's a pretty fun deck. Coming around with this deck, I was just I guess I was just trying to make something that was fun to play with and satisfying with, you know, confirms and everything. Shout out to Django, by the way. But yeah, so this series is just going to be me creating a bunch of different decks, and I'm going to showcase them. I'm going to show you guys. You'll definitely see more of my play style and how I create my decks. You'll start seeing similarities, and hopefully this can encourage new players and everything to create better decks, because quite frankly, I'm going to be the one to say it, we're all tired of you guys making the same spammy decks. So I know on live stream I usually do this thing where I do random deck creations and tweak around completely random decks that I created, and they actually come out pretty good. This is a product of one of them. This deck was a rando deck, as I would call it, and basically what a rando deck is literally me closing my eyes and putting any move in a deck and then playing with it, see if it's playable. If it is, if it's got a nice little tune, then I just tweak it around a little bit and make it into an official deck. Usually comes out good, comes out like Lexrine. Yeah, of course, a lot of things I see in deck creating is, you know, people making the same kind of decks. You know, they all look the same. That's why it's so easy for me to hyper counter, if you notice, because people make the same looking decks. That's also a part of the series, just to show you that, guys, that I mean, there's so many different ways you can make decks. You don't always have to add those 12 frame confirms to get a hit off, and there's so many different ways. I know I'm tired of being 12 frame spammed, so I can only imagine how many other people is. This deck is a mixture of you know, heavy attacks that are placed in places where as though you can always pull them out, but they're not always expected. This deck is heavy, but it is also fast. As you can see, it's easy to get thrown off by this deck. Towards the end of at the end of the video, actually, I will be posting the deck for anyone who wants it, who wants to use it as a template, anything like that. Feel free. Yeah, I mean, a question I get asked often is how long I've been playing Absolver. I am going to say probably about 2 to 3 years now, I think. So yeah, you guys see my rank. You're like, yeah, there's no way he's a. Yeah, I did start over a couple of times. I start over a lot, actually, so I wound up deleting the game every now and then. I also transferred over to PC, but I've been on PS4 a little more often now, so I go back and forth with those two. But yeah, just playing this game and going through all the different players who used to play this game, I've learned a lot. Most of my hyper countering comes from me being able to read possibilities, if that makes sense. So I know that after some moves, 9 times out of 10, a high is coming after that move, and that goes back to me saying, you know, most people create the same kind of decks. Yeah, I mean, like, that's just what it is. Most people create the same kind of decks. There's not really anything different besides the placement of the moves, but you'll most likely find all the same moves, the same set of moves in everyone's deck. And then based on their playstyle, you know, if someone's more so hyper, you can expect, you know, Blink Punch or a jab. Another thing is, most moves in Absolver when you're playing Windfall are highs. A lot of moves, well, at least the moves that most people use, they're mostly highs. Like, so if you notice, like, most of my split second counters are lows. I mean, I low dodge because that's just how it is now. You know, everybody uses the same moves, which are highs. It is what it is. You get countered. But this is why you should create different types of decks, and this is what my showcasings are. And definitely shout out to Locke. Definitely a good player. She's pretty good. And because this series will really be more so geared towards the newer players and players that need help creating decks, I'm gonna, you know, just give a little bit of advice. Learn your play style before you get used to a what is it, counter ability. So for example, you know, Forsaken, Windfall, Phasian. Learn your playstyle. And the reason I say that is because, you know, you can't really be super hyper and, you know, have a whole lot of energy while you're playing and then go equip something like Forsaken, because, you know, Forsaken takes patience in a way. It takes thinking, because, you know, as a Forsaken, after you counter a move, you know, the other opponent could go into guard, and then you're right back at square one trying to counter. So learn your playstyle. I mean, if you're more so on the hyper side, honestly the best thing for you would probably be Windfall, because it has the highest advantage for those split second counterings. If you like to use a lot of void moves, I recommend Cult. Definitely recommend Cult. So this right here, Copetus, I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, but as you can see, you know, this deck does create confusion. Copetus, he's not bad at countering. I do feel like he relies on this deck a lot, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you that no matter what deck you use, honestly, if you know what you're doing with that deck and it matches your playstyle, you find a way around. Like, as you can see, you know, he's got 10 frame starters. jump light kick. You know, deck is a little spammy, but watch how I work around this. Always pay attention. Look at what they counter. Look at their starters. Look at what position they're in. As you can see, most of the time he goes into front right stance, I believe it is, and that right there is the 10 frame kick. So with common knowledge, if you know that, and you know a move is coming up that you can't, that kick is going to be interrupted by, as a windfall at least, you would counter it. Just slow counter it. It's super easy. It is super easy, and then also as Forsaken, it's also not too hard to counter it. I mean, it's just that simple. I think we came a long way, and we're somewhere different in Absolver. I don't think it's really about reading someone anymore as it used to be when this game required a little more skill. Now it's more so about knowing how to counter, especially if you're in combat trials, learning how to counter spam. And that's the reason why I added this fight into it. Learning how to counter spam will make you very powerful, because you are going to run into a lot of that, because that is the meta now. You know, the 10 frame interruptions, the 12 frame interruptions, all of it. You need to learn how to counter. If you cannot counter, you cannot do anything. You're just playing deck for deck at that point. Like, you're not, the thing that makes you different from everyone else is how you counter. You know, there's plenty of fights I've been in where it's just we both got fast decks and we're just both fighting to interrupt each other, and that, there's no fun in that. We can all agree that there's no fun in that. It's not flashy, you know. You're going into the same stance, pressing the same buttons. It's not fun, and we can all agree, I'm sure. So learn how to counter. Top thing. That should be like your main focus. Once you know how to counter, it does not matter what deck you use. You will be able. On my next video, I have another video that's gonna come out after this. That deck is gonna be a little more subtle, a little more slower. Not a lot of leeway really, but I'm still gonna work around it. I'm gonna show you that it doesn't matter what deck you use. If you know how to counter, you can work around it. Work around it. So because this is I'm using windfall in this video. I guess I'm going to make this video more so geared towards windfalls. Now, windfalls. My windfall players. Windfall is powerful. We all know it. Windfall is very powerful. From the split-second counters to the rapid predictions, everything. Windfall it's my favorite thing to play. I am fluent in all of the styles besides Phasian. I've been trying to learn Phasian. I'm not terrible with it, but I'm not perfect with it either. But the other ones, yeah, I'm pretty fluent in them, but I use mostly Windfall. You would probably say I mained Windfall, which is true. I use Windfall more subtle. My decks are more so towards Windfall, but it doesn't matter what deck I use when I use my fighting style, because as long as I know how to counter, like I said, doesn't matter. But anyways, Windfall. My opinion on Windfall, it's a great style. I will say I'm not sure how other people feel about it, but me personally, it gets boring after a while. Especially when you become skillful to the point where you know certain moves are coming, and then it's just like muscle memory. Like, it doesn't require skill. It's just muscle memory to dodge certain moves and dodge certain hits. I usually jump from Windfall to Forsaken a lot. I haven't used, Cult in a while. I really haven't used Stagger. I use it every now and then. I use Stagger every now and then. I am fluent in Stagger. But yeah, usually you'll probably catch me on like Forsaken and Windfall, but I definitely will make decks towards Staggers and Forsaken and everything else, because this deck isn't, these decks aren't just geared towards Windfalls. They're for everybody. Anybody can use these decks. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be the first person to say this. Fuck the unwritten rules of Absolver. If you want to heal in the middle of the game, by all means. Me personally, if I'm fighting a player that I'm cool with and that's reputable, and I know, yeah, this guy's legit, he's not gonna do anything beyond crazy, then I won't heal. I won't really use powers. And then another thing is, I never use powers unless they're used against me. I usually run exhaust, as you can see, but I don't really use it unless powers are used on me. But this fight right here, you can see I'm getting spammed with jump light kick, I'm getting spammed with 10 frames, everything. So it's like, if you can't respect me enough to literally even just fight me, like you have some sense, you have to interrupt everything, which requires no skill, then I'm not going to respect you enough to not use powers and not heal. You want to run away, you want to hit me and run away, I'm going to heal. Like, that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. You want to keep interrupting me and then run away when you run out of stamina, I'm going to take that time to heal. So, F these unwritten rules. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's just a game, really. Especially if you're fighting someone like this. See the spam gets him killed every time. If you notice anything, it's bad enough that he's spamming, but then he's spamming a 50-50 deck. Like, that's the only reason he has a little bit of leeway why he's gotten so close, because he's spamming a 50-50 deck, and it's confusing. It does get confusing, but you do start to learn the patterns of people. Shout out to Cranial, it's my boy. Pretty good player as well. Bring the jump back punch, used it perfectly. That's another thing. Don't be scared to hit. Never be afraid to hit. You see someone constantly feigning. This is more so for new players. If you're like an actual good, skillful player that's been playing for a long time, then you know this. Don't be afraid to hit. If you're constantly countering while someone's fainting, they're going to keep fainting because you keep countering, and this just giving them confirms. You see someone constantly fainting, don't be afraid to hit. If you're fighting someone like me, the best thing to do is probably throw out a heavy every now and then as a starter, because if you're fighting a Windfall, they can do that split-second countering. Like, for example, I think one is coming up right now. Watch. I believe one's coming up. But yeah, the split second counters, see, there you go, right there. Split second countering, you could feint into a counter. So that's why I say, you know, throw out a heavy, because it does throw off the timing with windfalls. Like if someone threw out a flute swing while I'm feinting, it's 9 times out of 10 it's gonna catch me. Like it's gonna catch you, because then when I do that split second countering, I usually throw it out too early, and windfall is all about timing. It's all about timing. You do have a good window, but at the same time, because moves and different hits in this game have different speeds and frame timing, it's all about timing. I feel like this game has definitely changed. It took a change. It did. It has definitely taken a change. I would say it doesn't. Today's players don't really. How do I put it? They don't really take the game as serious as we did, I guess. You know, and I think it more so comes from what they're taught. I think the wrong people got a hold of the new players, and you know, they learn from us. They learn from the high level players. They fight a high level player, they see what we're doing, they start doing it. And the thing about it is, the high level players are the people that they see as emerald or silver or what's the other one? The yellow one. Yeah, those. Like, they see those and they're like, oh yeah, this guy's a high level player. But I'm here to tell you guys, rank does not mean crap. It doesn't. I can tell you guys, to avoid drama, I'm not going to name any, but I can tell you a couple people that are high ranks that play the same that they've been playing. And these dudes have been playing for years. Started the same time that I've started. And they're still the same as if they just started. They're still bad. We all know a couple of those people, like, honestly. But yeah, don't get intimidated by rank. Don't cop out on fights. If you see a high rank player, that's how you learn. That's how you learn. But yeah, like I was saying, I feel like the wrong people got a hold of the newer players, and everything is a chain reaction. You know, the noobs, the new players, they learn from that high level player, then they go fight other players, they become high level, and then now everybody's looking at them. So like, I feel like that's what happened with the Absolver community. At this point, it's probably honestly beyond repairing. Really, all we can do is, if they're smart, they'll actually fight the high level players that are actually top tier, and they'll see their mistakes and hopefully work on them. I haven't seen that a lot. I more so see people stuck in their ways, and you know, they're spamming and all of that. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. But if you're like me, you learn to adapt. You know, you really do learn to adapt, and that's the best thing to do in this game, is adapt. If you can adapt to every fight style, every player, different types of timing and all that, you know, you'll be fine. You really will be fine. I love that. I love that kick so much. The jump kick. Again, shout out to Cranial. Definitely GG's. You should learn those split second counters, or you will be interrupted. In today's days of Absolver, you will be interrupted. No one will hesitate to interrupt you. And I learned that the hard way, because, you know, I used to run a lot of decks that were really kind of heavy, on the heavy side. Interruptible. I still do rock interruptible decks, but because I learned how to rock those interruptible decks, I become fluent. I guess. Anyways, guys, that's this video. I will explain the deck right here. Alright, starting off, we got foot slap going in an underneath kick, and ending off with pushback kick for top right stance. Top left stance, we've got trip kick going in a switch kick and ending off with cleaver blow. Bottom left stance, we got liver knee going into leg breaker, ending off with back fist. Bottom right stance, we've got slap kick, donkey slap, ending off in heel to knee. Then we got spiral back punch as alternative. Second alternative is drunken paw. Third going down is the Uramawashi. Fourth is axe kick. That is this deck. Beautiful deck. I love it. It was definitely fun to play with. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you guys on the next video. Deuces.